Opposition Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before I ask my question, I'd like to acknowledge in the gallery we have the 2025 Youth Parliament Youth Chief Minister, Sean Hagan, in the gallery. Welcome, Sean, and to your colleagues there in the gallery. So welcome.
Yeah.
And I believe all the Youth Parliament bills passed, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Arts, Madam Speaker. Minister, you've spent more time viewing Territory art interstate than you have visiting remote community arts centres and regional centres here at home. The Territory's creative industries contribute to over $734 million each year to our Territory economy, a remarkable achievement driven by local artists and communities. Minister, why is it that you seem only interested in Territory art when you get to showcase and go on trips interstate? On this AusArt Day, will you stand up for our arts sector and deliver new incentives or programs and support our artists, our art centres here on the ground in the Northern Territory? And other than Tiwi, Upwick and Hermannsburg, how many remote centres have you visited in your time as the Arts Minister?
Minister for Arts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thanks, Leader of the Opposition, for the question. I just want to say that I think arts industry is very integral part of our economy, and we need to we are making sure that we are supporting that industry as well. And when it comes to the, probably a few months ago, there was a question about, like, I think why you have only visited one particular art gallery. Now the numbers are going up, which is really good. And on one hand, they're saying about, like, I'm not visiting, I'm not supporting. Now they're saying about, like, they need to know. I would probably say, like, I think as you normally do, keep tracking of my Facebook. You will get messages and information there. That's the way that you're finding all the information. And that's the only way that...
Can we have some silence, please? I can't hear the Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So again, like, when the opposition is trying to track down a minister only through the Facebook, not saying the good things that this side is doing, that's an issue. And that's exactly what's happening. And they're not seeing all the good things that we have done for the art industry. And sometimes the member for Goja always say about, like, oh, the newly appointed shadow arts minister, because I believe, like, the previous things were not working. So they have to already make a reshuffle in the first few months in their sittings as well. So the newly appointed shadow minister always trying to criticize, but I am not seeing him much around at all, except some of the road trips and other things, which again, like, I am trying to track him on the Facebook as well, because that's a way that we can track down as well. So, but what I need to say is about, like, we are supporting our art industry and we will make sure we will deliver. And when it comes to the questions about the Screen Territory, the Minister for Screen Territory or Minister responsible for that answered that question multiple times. We are not cutting any of the cost.
Okay, take your seat, Minister. What's your point of order?
Standing Order 110, there's no mention of Screen Territory in the question. It was specifically about new incentives or programs.
Get to the point, Opposition Leader.
New incentives and programs was the specifics of the question, Madam Speaker.
Minister, you've got the call. There was a big, long preamble to this question, so you've got a lot of latitude, I think.
No, it's all right. And again, like, I will just probably quote again the Shadow Minister. Shadow Minister said, like, 2 days ago, so we are continuing on what the funding was there, which is around, like, $27 million or just about $27 million. So we are making sure, on one side, we are making sure we are continuing with the investment. And when it comes to the State Square building or the previous art gallery, which was started as an investment of $47 million, which went all the way up to $143 million. So we have closed that EOI recently on Monday, and we have, like, almost more than 60 individual people or organizations downloaded that.
Minister, take your seat. What's your point of order? How many centres? Is that where you're going?
No, the question was specifically about new incentives and programs. What is the government's plan?
Minister, please continue your answer.
Again.
Please continue your answer in silence. Opposition Leader, be quiet.
I will continue on where I stopped. So when it comes to the new incentives, so what we are trying to do, so the previous Labor government had this plan that we want to put more funding from the taxpayers through the government to these new projects. So we are making sure that we can fund this through private proponents. So that means we will be able to do more new ones on top of what we are delivering as well. So again, like, I think the Shadow Minister can probably continue to try to address this issue.
Member for Drysdale, what is your question? Silence, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Chief Minister. Chief Minister, the CLP government has acted to restore public confidence in the Territory's integrity framework by commissioning and acting on the McClintock-Highley review into the structure and statutory integrity officers in the Northern Territory. Following receipt of that report, the government has accepted all recommendations in full, including the establishment of a new Integrity and Ethics Commission to strengthen transparency and accountability. Chief Minister, can you please update the Assembly on how these reforms will restore confidence in the Territory's integrity system and ensure strong, effective oversight that Territorians can trust?
Chief Minister.
Thank you very, very much, Member for Drysdale, for this really important question. And as I said earlier today in my first reading speech, where we have now introduced legislation, it's now available for the community to see, members of parliament to see, around the creation of the Integrity and Ethics Commissioner. And it's important we do this work. Of course, we have seen over a significant period of time there being an undermining of confidence in our integrity institution for various reasons. So we've seen Labor create integrity functions in the Territory, and they've not been meeting community expectation, and much, there is much documented publicity around this, if I could put it that way, Member for Drysdale. But there is a way forward, and it's a way forward that takes into consideration the unique nature of the Northern Territory and what has happened in the past. We can learn from lessons past and move forward. And so the McClintock-Highley review really provided an important opportunity to reset our integrity frameworks, to restore confidence in the community of our integrity frameworks here in the Northern Territory. And I said in my speech earlier today, this is important for the Parliament. It's important for our government institutions, for people who are wanting to have that transparency and integrity and confidence in government, no matter where they live around the Territory and no matter what institution it is. And so this is a really important step forward, and we're certainly looking forward to it. We have, as you said, accepted all of the recommendations in complete fullness. Member for Drysdale, as you would with such highly respected, in Justice Highley and the ICAC inspector doing this really important work, it provides us an opportunity to really reset the narrative for the Territory going forward. And for too long, we've seen the Labor, Greens, Johnston alliance want to really play a lot of politics on this issue. If that's what they want to do, that's a matter for them. But we're getting on with the job, recognising that what's happened before has not been meeting community expectation, that we need to rebuild that faith and have that credible model that Territorians can get behind and appreciate, Madam Speaker. And so this represents a new era of accountability for the Northern Territory. Having an agency with a CEO able to provide that shared service support and that support to the staff is really, really important. And it will also mean that we can have the Integrity Commissioner really focusing on those core issues around integrity and governance and corruption and all of those issues which they should be spending their time on. So we're confident in the model, and I want to thank Justice Highley and Mr McClintock very much for that important work. This is significant reform for the Northern Territory, and it heralds a new era in integrity for the Northern Territory.
Member for Gwadja, what is your question?
Madam Speaker, my question is for the Attorney General, part of the One Nation Trump CLP alliance. Serious questions have been raised about your ability to manage conflicts of interest and your commitment to integrity. As the Territory's first law officer, you have bypassed a transparent, appropriate process of recruitment. While still in train, you directly appointed the Director of Legal Aid. You failed to declare your extended family member's court matter while making comment in the public about it, potentially breaching the Ministerial Code of Conduct. And there are now questions about political interference in the independence of the court that remain unanswered. Attorney General, how can Territorians have confidence in your ability to uphold the standards required to be the Territory's first law officer, given your track record of integrity and transparency breaches?
Attorney General.
Let her answer the question.
Silence, please. Attorney General, you'll be heard in silence.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And what a very interesting question coming from the worst Attorney General the Northern Territory has ever seen. He single-handedly threw Territorians under the bus with their crime agenda, which was literally letting criminals go out into the streets and cause more havoc. And so, Madam Speaker, I am actually very proud to be the CLP Attorney-General for Northern Territorians, because Territorians voted for a CLP government to reduce crime, rebuild the economy and restore our lifestyle. And, Madam Speaker, that is exactly what we are doing. We have, in just 14 months, brought forward so many new pieces of legislation to deal with reducing crime. And guess what? We heard this morning from the Chief Minister that those results are starting to turn around. We're starting to see them go down. And that's exactly what Territorians expected from a government. As the Attorney-General, my role is to work with my department to bring forward this legislation, to bring it to this House, to work with our team to make sure that we do exactly what Territorians asked us to do. So I am not going to stand here and be shamed by a former Attorney-General who really should be the one hanging his head in shame. Very proud of the work I've done. Oh, that is very true. The opposition leader is also a failed Attorney-General. There's a reason why they are sitting on that side of the chamber, and we are in government,
order.
17 strong, because we were out there listening to Territorians. We took our platform to the election: reduce crime, rebuild the economy and restore our lifestyle, and that's exactly what we're doing, Madam Speaker.
Member for Goyder, what is your question?
Madam Speaker, my question is to the Deputy Chief Minister. Deputy Chief Minister, one of our government's key pillars has been restoring the unique Territory lifestyle, something we know is deeply valued by our rural constituents. Over the past few months, I've been contacted by many constituents frustrated by increased delays in the approval process to purchase firearms to enjoy their pastimes. After raising questions, it became clear that the outdated framework was at the heart of the issue. I understand the government is now taking steps to resolve this once and for all. Deputy Chief Minister, can you please update the House on the progress of this important reform?
Deputy Chief Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for Goyder for his question and his strong support of the rural and regional communities and the people who live out there and live and breathe the Territory lifestyle every day, Madam Speaker, every day. Madam Speaker, our government is absolutely committed to protecting and restoring our unique lifestyle. And that includes a Territory where you can go fishing, where you can go hunting, where you can go camping, Madam Speaker. These are more than hobbies in the Northern Territory, Madam Speaker. They are part of who we are, Madam Speaker. And in fact, I would say it's part of the member for Goyder and my DNA, Madam Speaker. We are backing responsible firearm owners, Madam Speaker, people who respect the law, follow the rules and make an enormous contribution to our community, Madam Speaker. And not only our community, Madam Speaker, but also to our economy, Madam Speaker. We know that the lifestyle is a very important part, and there's lots of money spent in that sort of industry to be able to grow lifestyle and our economy, Madam Speaker. Like the member for Goyder highlighted, Madam Speaker, the old legislation was causing a problem, and it was forcing people with those A and B category firearms licence to wait a further 28 days to buy a firearm in the same category they already had, Madam Speaker. It made no sense, Madam Speaker. It was making a frustration for these law-abiding firearm owners to be able to wait another 28 days and effectively, Madam Speaker, start the process again, which have already gone through for the previous firearms, Madam Speaker. It also left the firearm shops, Madam Speaker, having these guns effectively on lay-by, sitting there waiting for the paperwork to go through, Madam Speaker. So our government is about cutting red tape, Madam Speaker, and that's what this does. This is cut some red tape to make sure not only the firearm owners but also the firearm shops and dealers, Madam Speaker, can get that resolved. So our government, Madam Speaker, has made a common-sense approach to this. We're cutting red tape. We're not watering down any safety checks, Madam Speaker. I think we're very clear. We're making sure that we are not removed any safeguards. What we are doing is protecting our community and simply remove that duplication you need to be when you're having a firearm and you're buying another one of the same category, Madam Speaker. We recognise, Madam Speaker, that these people have already gone through the background checks. They've already gone through every legal requirement, Madam Speaker. And let me tell you, from someone who owns firearms, Madam Speaker, it is quite a lengthy process to be able to get your shooter's licence, keep your guns stored correctly, keep your ammo stored correctly, travel around with those guns and ammos in different containers, different lock parts in your car, Madam Speaker, to ensure that you comply with all the rules and regulations when it comes to firearms, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, another part of our lifestyle, we've introduced a process, Madam Speaker, to allow people who interstate shooter's licence to come up and buy ammo. to be able to come up here and enjoy shooting competitions. Instead of having to carrying up kilos of ammo, they can come up here, spend the money in the Northern Territory, grow our economy, Madam Speaker.
Member for Daly, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Corrections. Minister, at this point in time, 81% of children and young people in Holt's Youth Justice Centre are on remand. It is also taking up to a week for lawyers to get into Holt's to see their young clients, delaying legal proceedings and slowing down court processes. Yet just this morning, the Chief Minister spoke about swift, fair and rehabilitative justice with reduced time to finalise criminal cases and time on remand. Clearly, that is not the case for children. How can the community trust any of your government's rhetoric about reducing crime or improving the justice system if this is the reality for children in prison?
Minister for Corrections.
Speaker, I don't even understand the question, to be completely honest with you, Madam Speaker. I know that those on the other side get confused, Madam Speaker. So what I'm going to do, Madam Speaker, is talk to you about what we've done to make sure that the young offenders have better access to rehabilitation, better access to education, and, Madam Speaker, and be able to have an opportunity to break that cycle of reoffending, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we know that the previous Labor government failed the youth in detention in the Northern Territory. We know that they spent a 2 years delay in bringing online the new Holt's Detention Centre, Madam Speaker, which caused these young offenders to be in an old prison, Madam Speaker, that was part of an adult prison, and now, so 2 years. For 2 years, these young offenders had to sit in a facility whilst they completely blew out and massive delays in this Holt's facility, Madam Speaker, which I've been to the Holt's facility. It's a great facility, Madam Speaker. It allows these young offenders to have education and rehabilitation programs and some boot camp programs available to them, Madam Speaker, because it is about breaking the cycle of reoffending. So, Madam Speaker, it's really a bit rich when they ask about the youth justice. When they cause a 2-year delay, they cause, I think it's about $35 million overspend in relation to bringing that line line. So, Madam Speaker, just imagine all the education programs and rehabilitation programs that didn't get done because the previous Labor government failed to make their facility up to scratch, Madam Speaker. 2 years of delay, Madam Speaker. So what we've done, Madam Speaker, is brought that detention online. And what we do, Madam Speaker, is when we go there, when these young people are in that facility, they go to school, Madam Speaker. They go to school. Getting an education, I know the Minister of Education speaks about this a lot. Education, Madam Speaker, is the key to breaking that cycle of reoffending, to allow these young offenders to have an opportunity to have a better life, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's unfortunate that the previous Labor government failed many of these communities, Madam Speaker. We know they were in government for 19 out of the last 20-odd years or so, Madam Speaker. So these young offenders we're dealing with weren't even born when this previous Labor government come into power. Weren't even born. So all they've known, Madam Speaker, is failure, neglect, because the previous Labor government failed to look after them. Failed to look after them, Madam Speaker. So we're turning the tide, Madam Speaker. We're making sure that these young offenders have these education programs while they're in detention. They also have these wraparound supports, Madam Speaker, where they have the counsellors come and talk to them, come in and deal with some of their issues. They have access to medical treatment, Madam Speaker. They get their medication. And, Madam Speaker, on the weekends they get to go out into sentenced to a skill where they go out, Madam Speaker, and they learn day jobs, Madam Speaker. They learn about getting up in the morning, doing a job, doing community service, Madam Speaker. Then they go back into detention and they go back into education. Because we know, Madam Speaker, education is the key to break that cycle of reoffending.
Member for Wanguri, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Treasurer. Treasurer, before the CLP came to government, Territorians were grappling with the economic fallout of 8 years under the Labor government.
Silence, please.
Thank you. Master builders recorded the lowest numbers of new builds since records began, and with crime in the economy, uncertainty spiralling, fewer and fewer people wanted to call this territory our home. Fast forward 12 months, and thanks to the CLP's nation-leading homegrown territory program, along with this government's strong action to tackle crime and rebuild our economy, the territory is once again the place where people want to live, work and put down their roots. Treasurer, can you outline to the House how the CLP is supporting the building industry as they respond to the incredible demand of our extended homegrown grants?
Treasurer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I never get sick of standing up and speaking about the most generous homegrown grant scheme in the country. And I thank the member for Wanguri for the question, because there are people in her electorate who are benefiting from this scheme. And she knows the benefit of strong communities. And Madam Speaker, through our homegrown territory program, which I said is the most generous in the country, we're helping more than 1,100 Territorians now into their first home. These are territory families, Madam Speaker. And we're growing our housing supply with 300 new builds in the pipeline and climbing. And Madam Speaker, this means busy tradies, busy suppliers, and with a steady stream of orders and retailers, they're having plenty of homes to fit out. We're talking big numbers, Madam Speaker. These builds, supported by our grants, will lead to more than $130 million in direct economic activity. And by extending the 50 and 30,000 grants by another 12 months, Madam Speaker, we're giving Territorians more time to take up the scheme and giving builders even more business. And what a difference a year makes, Madam Speaker, when you turn the economy around, stamp out runaway crime and restore hope for Territorians, we see benefits to all, Madam Speaker. Young families once hesitant to call the NT home are now jumping at the chance to get on the property ladder. But the houses can't get built, Madam Speaker, unless we firmly back in our hard-working builders and tradies, who are right now rolling up their sleeves and helping us rebuild the territory. And having recently visited a new development at Holtz, it's clear just how hard-working they are. We know every new build supports our local businesses, our tradies, our apprentices, suppliers and local business. And Madam Speaker, when this happens, the benefits flow directly into the community and our broader economy. To help Territory businesses make the most of the economic turnaround, the CLP did what made the biggest impact. Give them the highest payroll tax-free threshold in Australia, Madam Speaker, and making sure our apprentices and trainees are also exempted. This saves the Territory businesses up to $68,000 per year and money that can be reinvested back into their businesses. This means more businesses growing, more young people training and more jobs created here in the Territory. And in good news, the latest ABS home building data shows the average construction time for new homes in the NT has fallen to 8.85 months, Madam Speaker, a 2.3% reduction compared to 2023 and 2024. What we're doing is working, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Master Builders Association recently commended the NT builders on their hard work and for these improved building times, and Madam Speaker, so do we. We back in our commercial builders, Madam Speaker, and we back in our residential builders because they are help growing the Territory brick by brick by brick.
Member for Guadja, what's your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Housing, Local Government and Community Services. Minister, the Central Australia Plan has delivered significant investment infrastructure into Central Australia and our remote communities. The communities of Ndari Hermannsburg and Rawampi Papunya recently advised that they are still waiting for tender and design documents to be released for life-changing infrastructure in splash pads and water parks in those remote communities. Minister, why are you holding up these projects, and when will you sign off on the agreements so that those important works can start?
Minister for Housing, Local Government and Community Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And it sounds like the question relates to the Central Australia Plan, which I believe is a federal funded program. But in general, Madam Speaker, what I do want to say is that the remote housing program, just over the last 12 months, Madam Speaker, we delivered 222 new homes under the national agreement, Madam Speaker, $4 billion over the next 10 years, and the aim under that is to build 2,700 homes. But when it comes to the Central Australia Plan, Madam Speaker, I'm not sure why the member for Guadja is here asking me about the Central Australia Plan, because
I don't think there is a point of order. Member for Guadja, he's not even a minute into his answer. This is your one and only point of order if it's frivolous.
It's Standing Order 110. I want to acknowledge, Madam Speaker,
down. Member
that
for Guadja.
it's on your desk.
You will have no more points of order from the member for Gwaja.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and it gives me a chance to perhaps remind the member for Gwaja that the Central Australia Plan is a federal plan, and given that that is a federal matter, it seems to me that the member for Gwaja has the member for Lingiari virtually sitting right next door to his office in Alice Springs. So my advice to the member for Gwaja is that rather than come in here asking the Northern Territory government about the Central Australia Plan, I suggest that he goes back to the member for Lingiari, the senator for the Northern Territory,
seat, please,
all
Minister.
of those ones that have...
Member for Goyder, what is your point of order?
Interruptions. I'd like to hear the minister's answer in quiet.
I think you might have interrupted him more than anyone at that point. But anyway, continue, Minister.
So I suggest, Madam Speaker, that he goes next door to his office and perhaps speak to the member for Lingiari about where's the funding for this Central Australia Plan, because it's not just about housing, Madam Speaker. Everywhere I go, particularly in Central Australia and the Barkly, I'm constantly asked questions about where is that $250 million? Where's all the money that was apparently put into Central Australia by the federal government? Because at the moment, all I hear is where is the money, what's been delivered, what projects are being delivered, and all I hear is absolute silence, nothing coming back out of the federal government when it comes to the Central Australia Plan. The people living out bush, not only are they waiting for remote housing, we're delivering 222 houses under the Joint Steering Committee program.
Take your seat, please, Minister. What's your point of order, Opposition Leader?
110, Madam Speaker. The question asked about when the minister would sign off on the agreement.
Please continue, Minister.
Thank you. So as I was saying, 222 homes that we've delivered under the national agreement, but this compares to just 206 a year before by the former Labor government. So when it comes to delivering houses, Madam Speaker, we're getting on with the job. We're delivering in remote areas. We're delivering repairs and maintenance. But every time I go out bush, people want to know what's been happening with the federal money for the Central Australia Plan. My advice to the member for Gwaja is go and see the member for Lingiari and get the answers you're looking for.
Supplementary member for Gwaja.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is again to the Minister for Local Government, Housing and Community Services. The remote people of Papunya and Hermannsburg, along with the Commonwealth Government, have said that this bilateral agreement is sitting on your desk and you have not signed off on it. So rather than blame the Commonwealth and remote Territorians, why have you not signed off on the agreement for water parks in Hermannsburg and Papunya?
Minister, you've got the call.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Slightly different from the first question.
Madam Speaker, I've already answered the question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Member for Johnston, what's your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my question is for the Minister for Racing, Gaming and Licensing. Minister, on Tuesday I referred the Racing and Wagering Act to you to refer to the Legislative Scrutiny Committee and raise concerns about wage transparency at the Racing and Wagering Commission. Can you please advise Territorians whether you will be referring the Act to the LCAC, whether it's correct that $376,000 in taxpayer funds are spent on wages for the 6 board members, the Chair, Alastair Shields, and the 5 other board members to meet once a month, whether a further $1 million covers the salaries of the directors and inspectors, who the current director is and whether it's a full-time position, and how that $1 million is divided between the director's salary and the inspector's wages.
Have you finished your question?
I have now.
Take your seat, member for Johnston. What's your point of order, member for Drysdale?
Point of order is Standing Order 1092A. The naming of the individual, can it be authenticated within the question?
I don't think I've ever had to refer to 109A. Please bear with me. Manner and form of questions. What was it? 109?
1092A, is it strictly necessary? If not, I'd ask the member to withdraw naming.
I'll give you the right to reply. Is the naming of that
the
person...
chair, which is in the public space, so I don't see any issue
Look,
with that.
I'm going to rule that it's fine. So please, Minister for Racing, answer the question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and the question is no, I will not be referring it.
Member for Blaine, what is your question?
Madam Speaker, my question is to the Minister for Tourism and Hospitality. Minister, the $1 Million Fish has become one of the Territory's best-known lifestyle campaigns. It is something that brings locals together and attracts visitors from across Australia. It's a homegrown CLP, the Territory Party initiative that celebrates what makes our lifestyle so special, while giving our tourism and hospitality sectors a real boost. Can the Minister update the Assembly on how the $1 Million Fish is helping to rebuild the economy, promote the Territory lifestyle and share some of the great stories from the season, and how many fish have been caught at the Elizabeth River jetty?
Minister for Tourism and Hospitality.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the member for Blaine. I don't think there's been any caught yet at the Elizabeth River jetty, but I definitely see a lot of Territorians out on that river. Throughout Palmerston, they all come out, they've got their boats and they're either launching them or up there with their fishing rods. So I do hope that all your constituents, member for Blaine, are getting out there and having a crack at the $1 Million Fish. This is an amazing CLP-born initiative. Some 11 years ago, we are in our 11th season and we continue to see fantastic results for Territorians with the $1 Million Fish, not only for those people who catch one of the red-tagged fish, but of course for our tourism industry, our fishing industry. I heard, Madam Speaker, that the weekend of the launch of the $1 Million Fish, all of our local tour operator fishing guides were fully booked. Fully booked, Madam Speaker, and it wasn't just locals, they were interstaters, and we're talking about in our off-season, which is why this is such a fantastic initiative. And everybody in the Territory knows how very Territorian the barramundi is for our lifestyle, and I think the $1 Million Fish has become part of that. You know, it's about that early morning launch, member for Nelson, that brag photo, and I've seen a few of yours out there, and that dream of landing that red tag. It's very exciting. Last season alone, Madam Speaker, more than 62,000 registrations were received. That's an enormous number. And $210,000 worth of prize money was handed out because of those who caught fish, which is absolutely fantastic. And I want to just talk really quickly about some of the winners of the $1 Million Fish, the ones that caught the fish in these first couple of weeks of the season. So this year we kicked off with a bang, only a few days after the season opener. Darwin local, I believe from the electorate of Karama, Mr Russell Kenny, he caught the first $10,000 barra on the opening day, there we go, at Corroboree Billabong, and he was out fishing with his grandson. It was a really lovely story to hear. So he hooked in the $10,000. And then we had, more recently, Colin from Darwin, and you wouldn't believe it, Madam Speaker, that's his second $10,000 barra. There are a lot of Territorians out there very envious, watching on Colin saying, oh gosh, look at that. But he is very persistent. He's out there all of the time trying to catch the barra, like many Territorians are. And of course, we want visitors to come to the Territory, Madam Speaker, and enjoy our $1 Million Fish campaign. We have there have been 6 10,000k red-tagged barramundi that have been caught. There's still 94 out there, Madam Speaker, and they are right across the Territory. And there's 11 carrying the $1 Million tag. So I really do hope there is some lucky either Territorian or visitor out there that gets one of those $1 Million tags. That would be very exciting. So, Madam Speaker, this is what restoring the lifestyle Territory is about.
Member for Casuarina, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Sport. Minister, I was very happy to see that the community consultation process has started for the detailed future planning of the Tracy Village Sporting Precinct. This is an important community project for the people in northern suburbs. It is also an inaction commitment that myself and a number of members on this side of the House and have been working really hard to achieve. Can the Minister please provide the House with an update on this important project?
Minister for People, Sport and Culture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank Member for Casuarina for this question, because this is indeed a project that he took himself as an election commitment along with Member for Wanguri to the last election. And they both were aware that I think how long the project were delayed over the years, because there was an initial funding of 1.3 million, which I believe which been delayed for more than 5 years now. So I can assure the members and Territorians that we are getting on with the job. So we are making sure that we are delivering this project. And this is a project that's a combined project between Northern Territory government and the federal government. And we make sure that we are going to listen to the people out in northern suburbs, and we want to hear their feedback. So that's why there is a Have Your Say feedback right now out. And I encourage the people who are the users of this and also the sporting groups to make sure that they are providing their feedback when it's open to everyone. So at the moment, they are working on a master plan, and they want to make sure that we are supporting the key sports that's currently use that facility: cricket, AFL, soccer, and also baseball as the stage 1 and stage 2. But I think during the master plan, we will make sure that we are listening to the people about how we can improve the lighting, the club room facilities, female-friendly change rooms, relocation and upgrades of the sporting fields as well. So there is a project control group and a steering group committee that was established, and they are assisting in delivery of the early stages of this project. And there is even a session at the social club this Saturday. So I encourage everyone who are out there to make sure that they make their contribution, because this is the time that you need to provide that valuable feedback. And when it comes to the another election commitment, not an election commitment, another project that in Woodruff, which is the home of the Palmerston Cricket Club, the Have Your Say for that has been completed. So now we are in a stage of gathering the feedback and considering how we want to take this project into the future, because that's going to be one of the projects that's going to be supporting the people living out in Palmerston. And that's not going to stop there as well. So we are currently waiting for the final report of the Marara master plan to understand like what are the requirements, so we can plan long term and see how we can improve that facility across in the Marara precinct, which is a key sporting facility for the Greater Darwin region and probably for the Northern Territory as well. And when it comes to the rural areas, so I'm sure like both member for Nelson and member for Goyder are counting the hours down for this weekend when the Crocs are going to have their first game under the lights. That was an election commitment that we took to the last election, and we are making sure that we are delivering. Probably outside like I think 14 months since coming to the government. So I wish both the members good luck to have a good time at this weekend. Thank you.
Member for Daly, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Seniors. Minister, during estimates, you said that you, and I quote, take advice from Ministers' Advisory Council for Senior Territorians, which meets regularly throughout the year, and that it provides high-level and strategic advice on issues of importance to seniors. Yet, you've only met with the Council once, back in February. Expressions of interest for new members closed at the end of May. Since then, nothing. Minister, while seniors are crying out for action on aged care and cost of living pressures, why have you turned your back on senior Territorians? And can you tell me when the new Advisory Council will be stood up for you to meet with?
Minister for Seniors.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Member for Daly, for that question. So there was one meeting with the seniors, I believe. I can't recall exactly how many, but what I can say is about like we have appointed the new chair and new members for the seniors committee, and I'm sure like there is a date. I believe that I think on 30th of October. But there is a meeting that is being scheduled, and we had to change the schedule of the meeting 1 or 2 times because of the availability of the members. Because it's not about like the how many number of that meeting that we are going to hold just for the stats. It's about like we need to make sure that the members can attend that meeting and provide that valuable feedback as well. So in the last meeting, there were like 2 or 3 main things that they came, and I facilitated a meeting for a small group from the Senior Advisory Council to meet with the Minister Edgington, because one of the things that they wanted to work was about the aged care, and the Minister Edgington is responsible for that. I facilitated that meeting, and Minister Edgington listened to them, and we had this in chamber over the last 2 weeks. He is still asking that question to the federal government, what's happening with the aged care for the seniors in the territory, because we are hearing about the processes similar to about like many other processes, but what the seniors want is real actions, because we got like around like 60 to 80 seniors who are in the hospital, which most likely some of them were there even during the last government as well. And myself, who've been working in the hospital last time, I have heard many stories of seniors who had passed away in the hospital. who were not along with the family members at that time during their last hours of their life as well, especially during that COVID time. So we know that this is a long-term chronic issue, but what's really happening is about like we are not getting any traction from the federal government. Doesn't matter, Minister Edgington making whatever noise, Chief Minister in her own way. So we are trying our best to get that attention from the federal government. We can address that issues as well. So one another thing that seniors raised was around like I think the housing allocation and other things as well. So I am working with the responsible minister on that as well. Because when it comes to the issues, it's about like understanding the issues, working with the relevant minister and get back with a clear action plan. That's what I've been doing. And there was a previous chair who was really well, Dr. Ram Vemuri. So he came off from that board as advisory council as the chair, and he took on the chair role of the Multicultural Advisory Council. And I look forward to work with Bob Shuring as the new chair of the senior Territorians, and I'll be able to update this chamber in future about like how that's tracking well as well.
Member for Karama.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Trade, Business and Asian Relations, responsible for Asian relations. Minister, the 2025-26 budget estimated population growth of 0.7% for the year ending June 2025. Reflecting renewed confidence in the Territory's economy. Strong population growth is vital to building our workforce, supporting local businesses and strengthening communities. Our Territory lifestyle is key and something that can only be experienced here. It's one reason people choose to stay. Minister, can you update the Assembly on how our CLP government is delivering on the budget's commitment and why more people are choosing to move to the Territory to experience our unique lifestyle and opportunities?
Minister for Trade, Business and Asian Relations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the member for Karama for the question. I know from speaking with you how important population growth is for your community, especially when it comes to growing their workforce, and your advocacy for them in that space is something I appreciate and I'm sure they appreciate as well. Madam Speaker, for far too long under the former Labor government, the Territory basically stood still. Crime was out of control, businesses were suffering, and worse still, Madam Speaker, long-term Territorians were packing up and leaving. Things were looking very grim. Well, no more, Madam Speaker. On the back of our Finocchiaro CLP government's commitment to reduce crime, rebuild our economy and restore our beautiful lifestyle, in just 14 months, we are delivering a safer community. Our economy is the fastest growing economy in the nation, and once again, Territorians and visitors to the Territory are enjoying our beautiful lifestyle. Madam Speaker, people who left in despair are returning. People who were considering leaving are doubling down on their commitment to the Territory. Madam Speaker, you can feel it when you walk through the Darwin CBD, visit one of our markets, talk to a small business owner, or meet new families settling into schools right across the Territory. There's a renewed sense of optimism, Madam Speaker, a feeling that we here in the Territory are on the move again. Opportunities for investment abound, and with the Territory on the brink of providing a solution to Australia's energy crisis, really there is no limit to what we can achieve. But on the back of this, Madam Speaker, what we are doing to make it easier for people to move to the Territory and build a life for their families. Our skilled migration and workforce programs are really demonstrating to people who are outside of the Territory, not just in Australia but overseas, what the opportunities are here. Our skilled migration and workforce programs are working with our businesses to make sure that they get the people that they need, whether they're nurses, tradies, childcare workers, educators, hospitality workers. We really have it all covered. And employers are telling me, Madam Speaker, for the first time in many years, they are confident that they are going to get the resources that they need to keep their businesses growing. The Australian Bureau of Statistics reports for the 12 months to March 25, our population grew 1.3% to 263,417 people, well above the budget forecast of 0.7. And it's not just about jobs, Madam Speaker, it's about connectivity, it's about people getting to be able to move in and out of the territory and really enjoy our wonderful, stunning lifestyle and build their families and their futures here.
Leader of the Opposition, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Multicultural Affairs Minister. Minister, your government claims to value multicultural voices, yet you haven't met with your own Advisory Council for Multicultural Affairs since becoming the Minister. Why haven't you never bothered to sit down with your own representative ministerial body? And Minister, it has become yet another advisory body that has been silenced by your CLP government, and you are now part of an ongoing rejection of genuine community engagement.
Minister for Multicultural Affairs.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Labor team, for the strong interest in the lifestyle today. So, because you never had that interest and you really thrashed the lifestyle of the Territorians before.
Silence,
so when it comes to the
please.
Multicultural Advisory Council...
I can't hear, excuse me,
Sorry.
I can't hear the Minister. I can hear you, Leader of the Opposition. Please continue.
So when I took charge as the minister on 10th of September last year, so I was just going through one by one on different advisory council. So normally when people are getting appointed, so they will be appointed in different terms. Like normally they may get in like different terms of like 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, or 24 months, or up to 3 years. But when it comes to the Multicultural Council, so we had like everyone was finishing their term at the end of March. So I had to go through a process of like advertising to all the role, which I have finalized now. So as I mentioned on the last question, I included about like the Multicultural Ministerial Advisory Council as well. Dr. Ram Vemuri was appointed as the chair, and we, this side of the government, make sure like we pick the people from outside like at least 5 continents around the world to make sure that we got representation from different regions of the world rather than having like people representing from one region or just the Asian countries. So I make sure like we got at least representation from 5 different continents. And Antarctica, as we know, there is no people living in Antarctica, so probably I would say like 5 out of 6 as well. So when it comes to their keen interest in the multicultural community, and probably I'm sure like I think they may be identifying me as a multicultural person as well. So because I don't know how they identify, but I am very interested to work with that group. And being a migrant myself, I know that journey of like different groups, and I know that I think their voices are not coming on to this level. Whereas things have changed with the new CLP government. So they got a voice of a multicultural person in the highest level in the Northern Territory government, which is the cabinet room. So
take your seat, please, Minister. What's your point of order, Opposition Leader?
The question was specifically understanding Order 110. Why has the Minister not sat down with his representative body in the last 14 months of being the Multicultural Minister?
Take your seat. Please continue, Minister. I think he's answering the question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I believe like the previous health minister hasn't changed a bit, because I was a staff member in the ND Health and she was my minister. I don't think there was anything that changed, because she can understand what things are said. Because when we were when I was working in the hospital, so we used to come send all the information to the LA brief, to the minister saying about like these are our problems. I never seen any problems are fixed, and now even if I just answered about like I just appointed the ministerial council, I'm going to meet them towards the end of this year. Still, the previous health minister, the current Labour leader of opposition, still asking the same question, which I don't know what's the issue here, because like if you want to just constantly interject, she can continue that. But multicultural communities in the territory is a very important part of our community.
What's your point of order, Leader of Government Business?
Standing Order 20, I think just interruption after interruption. I don't know how many more warnings she needs, but I can't hear the response from over here.
Look, we are on the last day of a 2-week sitting period, and it is important that we maintain our integrity and our behaviour. And I would ask, Opposition Leader, that you stop interjecting. I don't want to appear like I'm picking on you, but you are the main offender today. So please refrain from the interjections.
I'm ready to ask a question. Oh, he's still going.
I think by that I finished my response.
Member for Guadja, what's your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Attorney-General. Attorney-General, over the last 12 months, remote communities have been working hard on localised justice responses to help make their communities stronger and safer. Attorney-General, over the last 12 months, how many remote communities have you personally physically visited, and how many local law and justice groups have you met with? Or are you too scared of remote Territorians, or do you just not want to get your hands dirty?
Attorney-General, you have the call and you will be heard in silence, and the next person I hear is going to have a bit of time outside the chamber for an hour.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I think you're right. The last day of a two-week sittings, and they are scratching the bottom of the barrel, Madam Speaker, because as the Attorney-General, I have been out visiting lots of places. I've been to Alice Springs so many times, Santa Creek, Catherine. I've been to Santa Teresa 2 weeks ago. I've been to Groot. There's been a lot of places we've been. As a whole government, in fact, Madam Speaker, we have been out and about all over the Territory, visiting Territorians, listening to what they've got to say. Now, seeing as you specifically were talking about the law and justice groups, which sits under my portfolio, I would like to explain to the member for Guadja, who doesn't seem to listen when I do talk about these groups, is that I was over at Groot a couple of weeks ago, Madam Speaker, and I sat down with members of their law and justice group and the judge and some people involved in the community. The community corrections were there as well. I think her name was Margie. She's been living on Groot for a very long time. There was a whole raft of people from the community of Groot all coming together to share with me and a number of other people from the department and from the land councils and other groups to be able to see how it works. And it was very informative. I was able to see firsthand exactly what happens in those law and justice groups, in those community courts. And like I explained, I think earlier this week, Madam Speaker, there is work being done under the Aboriginal Justice Agreement for an evaluation on the community courts, on the law and justice groups, on the alternatives to custody. Again, there's one in Groot which we visited. And that work's happening right now, Madam Speaker, because this side of the government, this side of Parliament, we believe in reducing crime and actually doing things that work. And we were elected to do that. And so, of course, we have done that. We have reduced crime across the Territory. There's been 17% in Alice Springs of DV victims. Like, that's unbelievable decrease. So that's the things that we're doing are working. And that means that we have to look at all those other things that are there right in front of us, which includes things under the Aboriginal Justice Agreement. So that's the work that's being done, the evaluation, to see if it is working. Because if it is working, Madam Speaker, and we do see reductions, then of course we'll look at those things. But if it's not working, we have to revisit it.
Take your seat, please, Minister. What's your point of order, member for Guadja?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. 110 relevance. Just to confirm, Attorney-General, you've been to 2 of the 76 remote communities, only 2.
The question was how many? You have the call, Minister. You've got 33 seconds. You will be heard in silence.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I think across all of our ministries, we are always out across the Territory. I mean, let's think about this. Let's think about this from a practical point of view. We have ministers. We have 2 ministers in Alice Springs. We have 1 minister in the Barkly.
Take your seat, please, Minister. Member for Guadja.
Thank you, Madam
Make it
Speaker.
quick.
110 relevance. It's a direct question to the Attorney-General, not to the entire Cabinet.
There'll be no more interjections. Please
I was just reminded how I went out
points
to Nathan River, the Lemon Bite. I mean, that's another one. So go and put your fingers up, Leader of the Opposition.
Member for Goyder, what's your question? Come on, stop the interjections, all of you.
It's a good question, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Agriculture and Fisheries. Minister, the wreck fishing sector is worth over $270 million to our local economy. Research shows that 1 in 3 aged over 18 in the Territory go fishing. That's more than any other state or territory in Australia. Last Friday, the 17th of October, was National Barramundi Day. And to celebrate, we enjoyed cooking up some local barramundi on the back of a ute. Red tag or not, we love our barra. Minister, can you please update the House on what you're doing to support the local barramundi industry as well as our local recreational fishers who love to go out and wet a line?
Minister for Agriculture and Fisheries.
Speaker, and I will need
Cease
more than 3 minutes to
talking.
talk about the barramundi industry, Madam Speaker, because it is a crucial part of our economy, Madam Speaker. It is a crucial part of our recreational fishers, and it's a crucial part of our lifestyle, Madam Speaker. All of those things combined make sure that we support the barramundi industry here on this side of the chamber, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, and the member for Gordon is right. Last Friday, him and myself both cooked up some barramundi in the back of my ute because it was Barramundi Day, Madam Speaker. And we're out there supporting local homegrown barramundi, recognising our farmers and our fishers who produce a high-quality, sustainable seafood right here in the Northern Territory, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in 2024, the Northern Territory produced around 100 tonnes of wild-caught barramundi and over 6,500 tonnes of farm barramundi. 6,500 tonnes, which contributes a huge part of our economy, Madam Speaker. It drives local jobs, it drives local and international recognition of the Northern Territory and the barramundi industry right here. Madam Speaker, we know that Territorians love their recreational fishing and we're here to support it, Madam Speaker. And I know the member for Gord has probably caught more barramundi than myself and the member for Namatjira combined, Madam Speaker. But he did work at a barramundi farm though, Madam Speaker, so there is a bit of a hint there. Look, Madam Speaker, when people think about the Northern Territory, they think about barramundi. They think about catching it, they think about coming up here, chasing the elusive red tag, Madam Speaker. We know that it is a great initiative from the CLP in 11 years of chasing that red tag barramundi. In fact, Madam Speaker, just a few weeks ago I released a fish, bit me on the thumb and then it got caught 2 days later, Madam Speaker, and it had a red tag on it, Madam Speaker. So we're here to support that. The Territory led the way in seafood labelling back in 2008, Madam Speaker, and now the rest of Australia is following our lead with the new country of origin labelling laws that will let diners know exactly where their seafood comes from, Madam Speaker. These changes will come in to allow consumers to know if barramundi and seafood they order in restaurants is Australian or imported, Madam Speaker, and we all see that because we're here to support the barramundi industry right here, Madam Speaker. We know Hump You Do Barramundi, and I give a big shout out to Hump You Do Barramundi, Madam Speaker. I've been out their facility. They've got a great facility. They've got a great global reputation for producing premium, high-quality saltwater barramundi right here, Madam Speaker, right here in the Northern Territory. And I'm really pleased that they're continuing to grow, Madam Speaker. They've got programs out in Wadeye. They've got programs out supporting the communities, Madam Speaker. This is about local jobs, supporting local community engagement, Madam Speaker. We are really keen to continue to supporting the barramundi industry, Madam Speaker. Lots of people out here fish in the Northern Territory. It's a great pastime. It's great to take your family out. Madam Speaker, I've been out to those boat ramps, lined up for literally an hour to get into Shady Cam and places like that because it is such an...
expired, Minister. Member for Fanny Bay, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Health. Minister, late last week, Anti-Allied Health Excellence Awards were held. Allied Health covers a wide range of professions, from medical imaging and social work to pharmacy and audiology. Many constituents in the amazing electorate of Fanny Bay work in the allied health space. And I just want to do a shout out that my daughter, Kalani, is an occupational therapist with the MJD Foundation right here in the electorate of Fanny Bay as well, in Coconut Grove. She travels remote and I'm very proud. Our allied health teams are on the front lines, keeping Territorians very well every day. From urban centres to the bush, allied health professionals are delivering care that keeps Territorians strong. Their work is vital to ensuring all Territorians get the care they need. Minister, can you tell the House about the important role allied health plays in our health system in helping Territorians?
Minister for Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for Fanny Bay for this important question. Madam Speaker, late last week the NT Allied Health Excellence Awards were held here in Darwin. The awards recognise and reward the outstanding contributions and performance of allied health professionals working across the Northern Territory. Madam Speaker, the awards received 151 nominations across 8 categories. This included increased representation from across all of the 5 regions here in the Northern Territory. Nominations were submitted by industry peers and stakeholders, including other health professionals, work colleagues, managers and employers. Madam Speaker, I want to congratulate those nominated and, of course, all of the winners across each category. As Minister for Health, I have the privilege of speaking and meeting with many health workers, including allied health professionals. Allied health is the third largest clinical workforce in the Northern Territory, with specialties spanning from across a wide number of professions, from physiotherapy, dietitians and nutritionists, occupational therapists, speech pathologists, and as the member said, medical imaging, social work, pharmacy and audiology. The Territory's allied health professionals do an amazing job, an outstanding job in all parts of the Northern Territory. They're helping keep Territorians out of hospital and reducing the burden of chronic disease. Madam Speaker, across towns, regions and remote communities, allied health professionals are making a real difference to Territorians. I want to thank all of the allied health workers for their service and commitment to ensuring better health for all Territorians. Madam Speaker, their remarkable work and specialist knowledge are critical to the delivery of healthcare services in all parts of the Northern Territory. Congratulations to all of the nominees, all of the award winners. Thank you for the work that you're doing across the Territory. Your work is valued, and thank you. Yeah. Madam Speaker, while I'm on my feet, I move that any further questions be placed on the written question paper.